I want to know if anybody feels the same way as me right now. I am so angry.
The video I just stitched is one of the most relatable videos I've seen in a long time, so I just wanted to record a little bit of how I have been feeling, and I think that's important right now. I too have just been feeling angry all of the time. When I'm not feeling angry, I basically am compartmentalizing and throwing myself into whatever I am doing, and if I'm not doing that, I am really sad, anxious, and depressed. Granted, I do have ADHD, I have major depressive disorder, and I have generalized anxiety disorder, all clinically diagnosed. So I am medicated. I have done some therapy, and I am a very introspective person, if that wasn't already obvious. I do try to carve out specific times during the day for when I watch news things and things related to current world events because my mental health, the way that my brain works and my nervous system works, I've gone through a lot of trauma. I have a lot of struggles with my mental health. But, I push through it and I do live day to day in general. But it's not to say it's not a struggle. It's a very big struggle for me every single day. But the reason why I am able to survive right now, I think, is only because I have learned what my needs are when I am not doing well with my mental health. So, first big thing is you might not see my face on social media as often. You haven't seen it as often this year. So that's the big one. But even past social media in terms of me showing my face, I also if I'm scrolling on social media to try, doom scrolling. If I'm doom scrolling, I will get to a point where I have to sit back and actively think, okay, am I in a negative headspace or am I in a positive headspace? What have I been consuming? So I try to take a step back and be a little bit more aware. And if I have only been consuming negative after negative after negative after negative, that puts my head into a really bad place, and that opens me up to becoming more depressed and getting to the point where I just wanna do nothing, which is another thing that was talked about in the video that I stitched was how one of the other ways that they're feeling is just kind of apathetic. So to avoid getting into a headspace like that, I do have to try to get into positive stuff as well, which is it's like this crazy acrobatic juggling balancing act of trying to stay informed while at the same time not consuming so much negative information that it overloads my brain and shuts everything down so that I can't do anything because that is a very, very real issue for me. And if I'm not careful about it and I'm not conscious about it, I can get into a state of depression and anxiety and just like nervous system overload where I am barely functional. At this point, I'm 36 years old, so I've had a lot of practice with trying to figure out what works for me, and what works for me is just trying to be very mindful of how I am spending my time. So, yes, there are absolute horrors happening in the world right now, but we can't stare at them all of the time because that is like staring into the sun. If you do that too long, you're gonna go blind. It's not going to be beneficial to you. So, rather than staring into the sun all the time, I, have figured out what kind of sunglasses work for me and what days it makes sense to be out in the sun, and when I need to take a break and go inside to keep up this strange analogy that I just came up with. That's not to say that I am not acknowledging that what is happening in the world right now is terrible. For me personally, a lot of the reason why I don't make videos talking about a lot of that stuff is because I am an empath and a half. I will start talking about heavy things and I will just start sobbing. Like it doesn't work. And then making something talking about that will make me overload and crash out and not be able to function. So that's why a lot of the times you don't hear me talking about things like that, but I do try to include signs here and there for y'all. Uh, so just to make sure everybody knows where I stand on everything. So if you're paying attention, you know where I stand on everything. I say things here and there, but I am not capable of making videos talking in great detail about that kind of thing without it overloading my brain and being really bad for me. And that's the big thing. That's my big overarching message here is despite what is happening in the world right now, don't ignore it. Definitely pay attention, definitely stay informed. Absolutely stay informed and do whatever you are able to help make the world a better place. That's the part of it. That's the first part of it. But, however, make sure that number 1, you are taking care of yourself. So, make sure that you are not consuming too much so that it's pushing you into burnout and overload. Make sure that you are doing what you are able to do, but don't push yourself past the limits of what you can handle. Because the only way that the world is going to heal and get through times like this is if we survive. Make sure you are paying attention to your basic needs and your basic survival, because despite the fact that a lot of us are exceptionally privileged as compared to other people in the world, like acknowledge the fact that you have privilege for sure, but beating yourself up about it all the time and making yourself feel bad about everything all of the time is going to overload your nervous system, and then eventually you will hit burnout or you will shut down. Like, I shut down sooner than most people because of the mental issues that I suffer with, but everyone will eventually hit burnout if you keep going that way. So make sure you hydrate, make sure you eat an actual meal when you're able to, and make sure that you get rest. Stay informed, but also make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because the only way that the world is going to heal and the way that everything is going to eventually flip back in the right direction is if we survive. Okay? I love you guys.